Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And it is here, D-Day. Yep, that's right. I can't believe today I am back to work. Broadcast a little bit early this morning, I've got to be honest. The reason is I've got so much to do today. Apart from getting the gear into the venue, I've also got to go visit accountants, got to sort out paperwork. So again, yeah, it's a busy day today and a long day. So at the moment, I'm just doing the broadcast from on the balcony because it's a little bit cooler than out around the front of the house at the moment. As you can see, lovely clear blue skies. Yesterday, bit of consternation yesterday because we had thunderstorms. Yeah, absolute thunderstorms. Yesterday, I was up in Sillaby. At the top end of Sillaby, it just chucked it down there. The bottom end of Sillaby, where Magdalena's is, not a lot, just a little bit of a spit really. But the top end, up by the Tui Caravel Hotel and around by Calibra Bar, absolutely threw it down. I was chatting to the guy from Abba Travel. He lives in Tregaki. He says Tregaki was even worse with heavy rain. Jane was on the boat yesterday with the tourists. They all got a bit of a surprise when obviously they had a bit of a thunderstorm for them doing their trip up to the north end of the island. But the good thing is, though, it has cleared the air, which is quite nice. Anyway, according to Amanda, she says, morning, Ginge, Tuesday weather. After the unexpected downpour on parts of the island yesterday, there is a yellow alert on for thunderstorms. Temperatures today should be around about 30 degrees. However, it is going to feel like 34. Have a great day. So there you go. That's the weather from the lovely Amanda. And yes, it looks absolutely gorgeous today. And so hopefully it will stay like that as I start to have to do everything I need to do to get things sorted for later on. Right, okay, let's just switch the camera around. You've had a nice view of the real estate. Now have a view of me this morning. Arrivals for today, just to remind you that yesterday we had a Jet2 flight from Manchester. That also picked up people from Birmingham, I was told as well. There should have been 3 flights on yesterday, according to people that we've been speaking to from Jet2. But it was only 1 flight, and that was a combined flight. No flights in today from Jet2. Tomorrow is their big day, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But anyway, today's flights then, we've got 2 in from Athens, 1 from Thessaloniki, 2 from Austria, 2 from Amsterdam, 2 from Italy, 1 from Brussels, 1 from Sweden, 1 from the Czech Republic, 2 from Poland, 1 from Paris. And today we've got 3 flights in from the UK. Jane's meeting these flights today. UK flight for TUI Manchester is coming in at midday. Then we've got TUI Birmingham, that's coming in at 6:05 this evening. And then we've also got an EasyJet as well from Gatwick, and that's in at 18:55. So the Brits are slowly but surely starting to turn up. Now, when it comes to COVID in the last 24 hours, we've got some interesting statistics for you today. The COVID stats are starting to creep up again. Yesterday I reported 1,558. Now I can report to you 1,834 new infections across the country. 14 new cases were identified at checks into the country. That was up on the day before when it was 11. And according to the national stats yesterday, the majority or 80% of new COVID cases concerned people under the age of 39. And the average age of those is around about 26 years of age, and that 1 in 2 patients is under 54 years of age. Now, by comparison to the end of March, where 7 out of 10 cases concern the people over the age of 55, there's obviously a definite downward trend in the COVID infections. Now, interestingly, looking at the infection rates across the Ionian, and also Mykonos, Lefkada has had 1 new infection. Corfu has had 18 new infections. Kefalonia's prefecture, they've had 0 infections being recorded in the last 24 hours. However, I'm afraid on Zakynthos, we've recorded a record high of 26 new cases, which doesn't bode well. When you consider that Mykonos had 19 and we got 26. I'm just hoping that we are not going to have any extra issues coming in. Anyway, that means now that Zakynthos, this month alone, we've had 89 cases for the month of July. Since the beginning of the year, Zakynthos has had 601 positive cases. And when you consider last month we only had 7, to have 89 this year, this month, is not boding well at the moment. And I hope there's not going to be a knee-jerk reaction of trying to do local lockdowns and all that rubbish, because they just don't work. And the fact they, if anything, they make things worse. Oh, and also, if you're curious, in May, we'd had 44 new infections in May. So again, this month of July is looking not very good in the number stats anyway. As for deaths across the country, they are down slightly, so that's a positive. It was 10 yesterday, today reporting 8 new deaths across the country. That brings the death toll now up to 12,858. The average age of those people passing away, 79 years of age. 96% of those had underlying health problems or were over the age of 70. And once again, our condolences to those families that are affected. When it comes to critical cases have actually stabilised, believe it or not. And what I did notice, we had 75 males in and 48 females in critical cases. Basically, as one got better, another one got ill, and so basically the numbers virtually just stayed the same. I think females dropped and the male went up. So 123 cases in ICUs across the country. Just remember, the magic number is 900. That's how many ICU beds that Greece has to be able to treat a pandemic. So at the moment, the numbers on the demands of the NHS here are low, very low indeed. Right, okay, now let's look at the news for today then. Today's news then, with the Delta mutation becoming increasingly threatening, a significant percentage of the Greek population insists on refusing vaccinations despite repeated calls from the community and the state. The government has set a major goal to prevent a new general lockdown in the country, taking timely series of measures that will protect not only the health but the functioning of society. Their words, not mine, all right? There is no case for general compulsory vaccination, but the government plan, or FEMA as they're calling it now, which reveals provides access to everything only for the vaccinated. Strict restrictions everywhere for the unvaccinated, regulations such as suspension of public sector pay, as well as a large flexibility in the private sector with teleworking or even reasonable redundancies in order to protect the smooth continuity of activities under any epidemiology conditions. Basically what they're saying, people who are not vaccinated, you're going to find a lot of restrictions on you. Like myself, I'm expecting to get them, and I'm going to have to live with them because they are still adamant that you are to be vaccinated. Now, one of the most dramatic measures that the government is considering is to introduce the possibility of access into retail stores only to vaccinated citizens, and saying that retail workers must also be fully vaccinated as well. In fact, additional measures are being prepared for the catering and entertainment industry, and they are still yet to be revealed. So we're going to wait and see what has happened. Anyway, yesterday, the Greek Interior Minister, Makis Voridis, speaking to Greek SKAI, said the obligation to the vaccinated does not concern the whole population. Employees who are concerned in particular in sensitive areas, like those who take care of the elderly and later the health staff. He explained that if there is no special provision of law regarding compulsory vaccination, there will be sanctions for violation of an employment contract. As for what these sanctions will be about, he said that there is a fan of options. So basically what he's saying is that the Minister Makis Voridis is saying is that they are pressing for compulsory vaccination for people working in healthcare. And at the moment, healthcare area seems to be the area that they are using for the compulsory vaccination as a starting point to obviously looking at other sectors and places. Now, he also clarified we want to get the employee out of the space where he works because it is a risk, and that is why he will be suspended. As long as suspension lasts, he will not receive a salary. So what they're saying for those people in the healthcare sector at the moment, if they refuse to be vaccinated, they will be suspended from work, and they will also not be paid. Anyway, Mr. Voridis also referred to the issue of replacing employees in suspension, saying that it is not an easy task. So, as he said, the suspension should be limited, having in mind the operation of the company. Jobs need to be sorted out, he said. Now, I think what he's referring to there is this: we'll suspend you first, make you suffer a bit by not being paid. Obviously, I hope you go hungry a bit because you can't go into the shop to buy any food, and therefore make life really, really difficult for you. So in the end, you're just going to roll over and go and have your injection, and everything will be fine, and you'll be welcomed back with open arms. Anyway, the minister noted that since there is a legal obligation to comply with certain health protocols, non-compliance with protocols will be a violation of the employment contract. In the private sector, because he's talking about the private sector here, what I just referred to was the public sector. In the private sector, this gives the right to complain unless there is a special arrangement that does not give the right. That is, if the government issues a special regulation according to which non-vaccination is not a disciplinary offence, he said. He added, we did not define the legal consequences. Additionally, legislation is needed for the private sector as well. If the legislation remains as it is, then there will be a misconduct for non-compliance. Regulations must be made so that existing legislation does not come into force. So basically what they're saying is that the legislation is needed. They need to rewrite the rules in regards to the private sector to basically enforce compulsory vaccinations on people. Don't forget, there are some people who can't have the vaccine for their own health reasons. So again, some way I think this whole action is so misguided. And again, you've got to question the reason why there is this rabid, and I'm talking rabid, rhetoric of vaccination. We already saw yesterday in Cyprus. There was demonstrations in Cyprus yesterday, which got a little bit out of hand. I've got to be quite honest, where people were saying we don't want to be vaccinated, and we certainly don't want to have this compulsory vaccination. They're also pushing in Cyprus, and there were basically riots in the streets there yesterday. Also, he said regarding the imposition of additional measures in Mykonos, now he started talking about Mykonos, Makis Voridis underlined that the island was a bad example of non-compliance with the measures, while he did not rule out the possibility of taking measures for other orange areas of the epidemiology map. And what you've got to remember, Zakynthos now is in the orange. So again, we'll be keeping our eye very closely on that. And also I'm keeping my eye very closely on the rhetoric that is coming out of the parliament and from the government as to regards unvaccinated people. Now, the shipping minister, Ginge Coldwell, said on Monday there was about 2,500 people banned from boarding ferries to the Greek islands in the last 3 days alone because they lacked the required documentation. Now, the Coast Guard was put in charge of checking the public health and safety measures at ports, and they've been there since the 13th of July amid concerns that Greek and foreign tourists travelling to and from the islands are driving the spike in coronavirus infections. Now, speaking on Open TV, Plekoris admitted that before the Coast Guard took over from the port authorities' checks, they were inadequate. This is why the Coast Guard took over the checks before embarkation. The Greek authorities have to tighten health rules amid the spike and the new infections in some popular summer destinations. On Sunday, they announced a 5-hour nightly curfew and a round-the-clock ban on music in cafes, bars and restaurants on the island of Mykonos, while the Deputy Civil Protection Minister, Makis Voridis, warned last week that the government is one step before imposing restrictions on Santorini, Paros, Los and Arithmos and Heraklion in Crete. So at the moment, we still have not raised our heads above the parapet. So they're looking over there and they're not looking here. Thank God for that. Anyway, travellers to the island are reminded that they need to display either a COVID-19 vaccination certificate, proof of recent recovery from the virus, or a negative PCR test taken within 72 hours of departure, or a negative rapid test conducted 42 hours before travelling. As of the July the 16th, unvaccinated travellers returning to the mainland Greece will have to present a negative rapid test or a rapid test in order to board the ferries. So basically what they're saying, if you want to get off the island now and go to Athens, again, you must be tested before you leave. Expect to be checked by the Coast Guard as you get on board the ferry to go off the island, as well as getting on at Kalini to come here as well. Because to be honest, that's our other big entry point for the virus coming is through people on the ferries, not just on the flights. Everybody kind of keeps looking at the airport, but please, a lot more people come in a lot bigger groups via the ferries than they do via the airport. Also, as well, as I've said, it seems every man and his dog here at the moment has been visiting Zakynthos. On Monday afternoon, the regional governor of the Ionian, Rodi Scaropolis, met with community leaders of the Municipal Unit of Laganas and discussed with them the course of tourism this summer and more specifically problems in that area. Now, on this occasion, the recent increase in coronavirus cases, the regional governor pointed out that cooperation of all is required to comply with the measures and health protocols so that issues such as those in the Aegean do not arise here. Anyway, the regional governor also referred to the measures announced for Lagana by the Minister of Civil Protection, Mr. Kriadis, during his recent flying visit to the island, where, if you may remember, he ordered the reinforcement of police officers here on the island, and they've been very, very busy at the moment here putting in law and order in Lagana. Anyway, the regional governor is going to be here on Zakynthos. As she arrived on Sunday, she's already met with the mayor here, and she's expected to continue her trip of the island and also speaking to people here up until the 22nd of July. So you never know, you might meet the regional director of the Ionian Islands while you're here on holiday. Interestingly, talking about the police being busy, a foreigner was arrested on Saturday in Zakynthos by police officers on an international arrest warrant. It seems the foreigner was located and arrested at the Zakynthos airport during a passport control check. An arrest warrant was pending against him by United States authorities for offences of fraud and money laundering. And the arrested man was then taken into custody and is waiting for process by the competent authority, who are probably going to extradite him to wherever he has to go, back to the United States. Right, and finally, a nice little happy story. Now, this is something we don't hear a lot about, and this is about a lot of the refugees that are in camps here across Greece. A lot of the time we hear stories that are of a very negative nature, but I saw this story today and I thought it was rather delightful, about a young Palestinian refugee who's on the Greek island of Leros, who arrived, as described in the press, on a rickety boat from Turkey in December 2018. Now, this young lad has set up a page called Learn Greek, and it's a way to teach Greek to children worldwide. And as you know, Greek is an amazingly difficult language. Now, the amazing story of this little lad, whose name is Sabri Madi, who is just 13 when he arrived in Greece, was revealed by the United Nations High Commission on Refugees. He has established an informal education centre for refugees on the island called the Leros Education Centre, or the LEDU. Anyway, according to the UN, Sabrina arrived on the island with his mother, Garda, and his young sister, Shiroju. His father had gone missing in Gaza back in 2011, and daily threats against the family and the violence in the region had ultimately forced them to leave for Europe. Anyway, scraping together enough money, just enough to send the three of them, the family decided it should be Garda and the youngest two, Sabri and Suju, that should try and make safety here in Greece. Anyway, it seems when he arrived, the young lad fell in love with the Greek language, and soon after their arrival in Greece, Sabri started day classes at the Ledu and quickly became fascinated with Greek language and and its difficult and intricate grammar. Anyway, he said, I love the sound of Greek words. Adding, I learned them very quickly. Anyway, the young Palestinian believes that refugees arriving in Greece must make an effort to learn the language, and he is determined to help them. He should help people like me, the older majority as well. Anyway, Sabri derives a great joy from learning English also and maths at the LEDU, where he works with computers, creates art, plays sports as well, but his favourite subject is Greek. So there you go. Nice little positive story about what's going on over there in Lesbos, where people trying to make a new world for themselves are, you know, taking opportunities that are given to them. So I'm going to have a quick look at some of the messages that have come in. Lorna Gant says, morning Ginge. Gary Horsfield says, morning Ginge. Debbie Walthamstone is watching as well. Nice to see you. Soul Andy says Mykonos has had over 450 in 2 weeks. Yep, they certainly have. And I'm glad you pointed that out. But the point is, in our experience here on this island, what goes on Mykonos could end up here. We saw a case of this last year, where basically we're classed as a party island because of Lagana. I think because of all this extra police presence that we've got at the moment with what's been going on, this might be what's going to keep us from being lumped in with what's going on the epidemiology rate with Mykonos, so that we will not start getting restrictions and curfews and bans on music here at the moment, which is the last thing that we want to see on this island. When you start looking at the fact that they're now saying in the UK they want only fully vaccinated people going into nightclubs, again, it just feeds into this propaganda fear for vaccination. It also means that businesses can be seriously undermined. And trust me, a lot of businesses at the moment are in a very, very precarious position with what has gone on. And don't forget, we're also still waiting for the arrival in numbers of the British market. So again, we just don't want anything that's going to impede people having a good holiday. And the last thing we want is, when you look at our rate being 26 and Mykonos is being lower than us, despite the fact that they may have got 450 over 2 weeks, that number still feeds in to the psyche of, oh, it's going to go bad in Lagana or in Zakynthos, we better put in measures. And don't forget, they're already looking at putting in measures in other Aegean islands at the moment, and in Crete. We don't want the same happening here, all right? And that is by the by. The last thing we want is for them to turn around and say, right, you've got a 1 o'clock curfew, you're banned from having music in bars, all that craziness of last year. We don't want that repeating itself again. It'd be interesting to see how this Mykonos experiment works. All right, it'll be really interesting how this Mykonos experiment works, and just see if their infection rate does go down any lower because they've decided to put these restrictions in. Remember last year here in Zakynthos, thousands of people down on the beach, causing untold damage to the beaches, wandering aimlessly around, nowhere to go, nothing to do because all the bars are closed, all the clubs are shut. People come on holiday to get away and have a bit of fun. And unfortunately, when there's idle hands because they're not in a controlled environment, even though they might say, oh, social distancing inside a nightclub, blah, 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 at least they're in a controlled environment, not wandering the streets, looking aimlessly for things to do. And it goes from not so much a control of a virus, it goes to delinquency. It goes to other problems of wrecking the beach, rubbish on the beach, our turtle population being affected by the fact that people have got nowhere to go and wandering. All right, people make their own decision when they want to go to bed. And if you've got a bar open or a club open till the wee hours of the morning, they're going to stay in your place. And when they've had enough, they're going to go back to their accommodation. When they're told, OK, that's it, bang on the head, 1 o'clock. What? 1 o'clock? And they're just going to wander. And that's the last thing we want to see. Right. Anybody else got anything else to say? Michaela Taylor says, I should be there. Oh, bless you. Pete Baldwin says it's all a big lie. Yes, Pete. I wonder what I got comments here about vaccines. Do you know what? It really does annoy me when I can't read your comments as I'm doing this live. But anyway, I've got to go anyway, simply for this. Mandy Joy Hatton says, morning, Ginge, from a sunny Nottingham. Bless you. Right, as I said, got a lot on today. Looking forward to starting work tonight. I will be spinning the first tunes from 9 o'clock to this evening until 2 o'clock at least. We're going to see how things go. Just going to tell you tonight, I'm going to live stream the broadcast. I'm going to live stream a broadcast from Magdalena's for our first night upstairs in the area with a DJ. Is it me? Me. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, if you want to come and join us online, by all means, feel free. You'll find us on Mixcloud, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Facebook. Only thing about Facebook, yeah, we'll get copyright strikes every so often on there. So best bet, going to Mixcloud, going to Twitch, or even going to Twitter. Twitter seems to be one of the best areas to get the feed. And obviously, come and say hello. Let us know that you're supporting us. And we'll let you know how things are going here in Zakynthos. So again, all excited, looking forward to it. Also as well, just be aware, live entertainment at the moment is still a bit of a quandary at the moment. As soon as we get the okay that it's okay to proceed. And as I said before, there seems to be a two-tier thing here with live entertainment. If we're doing folk dancing and Greek music, there's no problem with anything. You start doing other type of music, there seems to be an issue. But anyway, we'll wait and see how things work out. And as soon as we can get our live tributes back and working in safety without fear of fines and all the other stuff that goes with it, trust me, they will be back working. All right. So anyway, that's it from me. Tune in tonight, all right, 9 o'clock, which will be 7 o'clock your time in the UK. And we'll see how the night proceeds. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll keep my ear to the ground. Thank you again for the comments and have a good day. Ta-ra.